learn how to detect stress in other humans. Obviously, you have people who don't seem to be able to read a human's emotions well or at all, but humans typically, people guesstimate there's maybe like a 60 to 80% accuracy rate in which one human can detect stress in another human without hearing the very verbal cues of, I am so stressed out right now, which I don't know how great that is. Sometimes I feel like there are people who can't read the cues at all, but that's just a lot of room for error. However, dogs are able to detect stress levels for humans with a 93.75% success rate. Stress and anxiety are the two emotions that dogs show the highest accuracy in detecting, as well as fear. Which actually is kind of sad because dogs have something called emotional contagion, which means when they smell a human's emotions, they can start catching these emotions.
Really?
Yeah, they can start feeling them. I mean, their ability to smell is exponentially better than a human's, obviously. For example, a human, you get a cup of coffee. You put a teaspoon of sugar in there. You can smell it. A dog, you get 2 Olympic-sized swimming pools. Put a teaspoon of sugar in there. They can smell it. If you were to have 752 apples in a giant pile, which I feel like would be as big as the state of Alaska, and you've got 1 rotten apple in there, they would be able to smell it. They can sniff it out, which makes it easy for dogs to hunt babies. When you are a baby, your scent production is pretty uniform and strong. Usually, I thought it would be less because, babies are so tiny. But apparently, babies shed skin cells quicker than adults. And as they're walking, crawling, as they're touching surfaces, their skin cells, they shed and the dogs can smell that trail. Their bland diets of just formula, milk, actually make their scent more consistent. But that doesn't mean that dogs can easily track infants. Every little factor matters, even the quality of the scent. I mean, dogs don't just go around tracking any little human. What they do is they get shown a piece of clothing or a toy, and they use that as the focal point. This is the scent that I'm going to now chase. And that item is like the most important thing for a canine dog. First of all, it has to have been used or worn for at least a few hours. Like this sweater. And it would have had to have been worn or used within the past day. Can't be longer than that. And 3, it has to have not been touched extensively by other people, which is really hard for infants. You've got caregivers touching them nonstop, which would create what they call a scent cocktail. And it's actually very interesting. Like when canine dogs go out there to search for humans and even little babies, their canine trainers will even tell them to, it's like deleting scents almost. So they have to first smell the trainer, smell the officers, so that they can just ignore that completely.
That's cool.
Yeah. And it's very difficult. And maybe that's why these canine dogs are having a hard time tracking Emmanuel. Or maybe it's the fact that he's 7 months old, 25 pounds, and he had just been kidnapped. Emmanuel's mom, Rebecca Haro, she's telling the police everything that's happened. She's at this football game, this football practice with her husband, Jake Haro. So Rebecca and Jake Haro. Her husband, Jake, has a son from a previous marriage. That son is playing football. What he forgets is mouth guard. You can't play football without a mouth guard unless you want to spend the next few weeks tube feeding yourself a diet of mashed potatoes and popsicles. You're going to be missing a 2 front tooth. Rebecca offers to run to the sports store nearby, grab a mouth guard. Jake is like, presumably he's like, okay, I'm going to stay with my son. Rebecca takes their 7-month-old son, Emmanuel, pulls up to the Big 5 sporting goods store. This is August 14th, 2025, a few weeks ago at around 7:30, 7:45.
A couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
Oh.
By 7:47 p.m., deputies are dispatched, K9 units are on the ground, helicopters are in the air circling this sports store. And Rebecca's story is very simple. Like maybe too simple. I came over here. I parked right at the edge of the parking lot. When I was driving over, I had smelled the baby had went to the restroom. So I said, don't worry, we're going to change you. She parks her car, gets out the driver's side, goes to the back seat, opens the door, lays Emmanuel down next to his car seat. So she takes him out of the car seat, puts him down just on the seat of the car. She's about to change his diaper. And that's when she hears a strange voice right behind her. And they just say one word, Hola, hello in Spanish. And then she says everything goes white. She says the whole thing happened so fast she couldn't even really give investigators any sort of description on the kidnapper. She literally just heard hola, got knocked out, woke up and her son is gone. Gone. Just like that. Just gone. By the next day, she's got this giant black eye and she's begging the public on all these news stations to help her find her 7-month-old son. And the whole thing is so weird. Like the fact that Rebecca said the attacker came from behind her. She only heard Hola. She was caught off so off guard. She didn't even have time to turn around and see who it was. But the black eye is square in the middle of her eye.
So they hit her from the back and from the front?
No.
Oh.
She was only hit once. So did they like swing their arm around her like they're about to give her a back hug? Did they come from the side and swerve at her? It's just straight to the front. Mm-hmm. How did she not see anything? She didn't turn? She didn't see anything before being knocked out? I mean, I thought he came up from the side, from the back. Like, how would he punch her straight to her face and she doesn't see a glimpse of anything? She doesn't even know an article of clothing. Like, was he wearing a black hoodie? Was he wearing a white hoodie? Nothing. The initial public reception to all of this is uncomfortable. People are trying to spread the word of Emmanuel being missing, but at the same time, people are very creeped out about Rebecca. There is something about Rebecca that is just weird. I don't know if it's her unsettling breathing patterns, the way that her voice gets super high-pitched out of nowhere and then drops back down, and then she's got this like very weird stare that she does. Or maybe it's the fact that nothing in this case makes sense. Rebecca claims her 7-month-old son is kidnapped in a parking lot by someone who is very adamant about greeting their victims first. It is such a ridiculous incident that almost everybody believes Rebecca is lying. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Until reports come out that someone has confessed to Emmanuel's murder from jail to an undercover cellmate. That's the report. But is it true? What happened to baby Emmanuel? And is this the dumbest fake story of a kidnapping? Or is it so bad of a story, so ridiculous that it's doing exactly what the kidnapper wanted all along, which is put all of the suspicion on Rebecca? This is the ongoing case of Emmanuel Haro. We would like to thank today's sponsors who have made it possible for Rotten Mango to support Baby to Baby. They're a national nonprofit that provides children whose families face financial hardship with diapers, clothing, and all the basic necessities. This episode's partnerships have also made it possible to support Rotten Mango's growing team, and we would also like to thank you guys for your continued support. As always, full show notes are available at rottenmangopodcast.com. Today's case involves the abuse of a child, specifically an infant, so under a year old. If these types of cases involving young children are too difficult, don't hesitate to skip this episode. We'll see you in the next one. Secondly, there are lots of discussions regarding the justice and child welfare systems in the US that have consistently and pretty miserably failed children. And along with that, there's a lot of netizen discussions regarding unconfirmed details about this case. A lot of rumors, and there have been a lot of rumors that have been clarified by the sheriff's office of being like, no, why are you believing internet rumors? It's been a messy case, and it would be impossible to cover this without even telling you what's going on online. So there is just a lot of lack of confirmed details. And we want to be clear that when we mention some of these rumors, we're just going to tell you straight up, this is literally just a speculation that's being made online. So with that being said, let's get started. Acting coaches will notice things that the casual viewer of a movie just doesn't notice. They're going to nitpick their students because that's their job. The shoulders are not symmetrical. They're supposed to be symmetrical. It's weird. You think that they wouldn't be. But when someone is in a state of grief, everything is symmetrical. Usually, unless they're predisposed to some sort of asymmetry in the face, all of their expressions are symmetrical on their face. Their shoulders are symmetrical. It's even to the point where if you were to lay your arm down on a coffee table and then rest your head on your shoulder, this shoulder usually doesn't slump down during grief. Maybe in depression or sadness, but grief specifically, it'll stay symmetrical.
That is weird. Really?
Yeah, it's just a thing. It's always symmetrical. I mean, most people. If only one side of the neck muscles are tense, it's usually not an accurate portrayal of grief.
Is this like a body language thing or is this like a acting
It's an acting thing, but it's rooted in a lot of what happens in the brain when you're experiencing grief. And it's just been anecdotally, I mean, obviously case by case. I mean, some people are just going to have natural body shapes and forms where they can't really be symmetrical.
Got it.
But for a lot of people, it's symmetrical. Even with genuine grief, you expect a lot of irregular breathing. And a lot of it is going to be this gasping for air because you're very tense on the inside. So you want to always bring air in. Fake grief is interesting because you can almost tell that people hold their breath because that's what people will typically do to generate tears. And they will breathe out. Almost like sighs.
That is so fascinating.
Whereas real grief, it's inward.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine if you're rating the newest release of an A24 movie, but why is the internet using this type of commentary to analyze and reanalyze a mother's literal desperate plea for help? Rebecca, her son, has been kidnapped in a parking lot. She's knocked out unconscious. She's got a big bulging black eye that's throbbing on her face. She's front news in front of the cameras, and the internet is collectively analyzing whether or not her breathing sounds like genuine grief, which kind of sounds insane until you watch the interviews. Rebecca is standing there in front of the camera. At times, her eyes kind of pinch closed. Other times, she's glancing from at one point on the floor to another area. It's a little strange. Her voice is shaky, but consistently shaky. It's almost like high pitched like this and shaky.
And I ran into Big Five and I asked the lady if she saw a baby or someone with a baby. She said no.
She explains how she left her stepson's football practice to go grab a mouth guard for him. But she takes 7-month-old Emmanuel, and as she's about to grab him to bring him into the store, she smells that he needs a diaper change. Parks the car deliberately near the edge of the parking lot. I don't know, maybe to change her baby's diaper in peace, I'm not sure. But she gets out the driver's seat, goes to the back, opens the door, takes him out of the car seat, places him down on the car, and she says,
I was gonna get the diaper and somebody said hola. And I didn't see nothing since.
Rebecca closes her eyes and her voice pitches upward. And it's almost like someone sucks all the air out of Rebecca because she just...
So you're saying that immediately when people watch this footage,
Yeah.
they're already like, that is some weird behavior.
Yeah, and I mean,
Immediately.
this is even before body experts, body analysis experts even jump into the picture. It's like straight off of TikTok. It's posted on KTLA and people are just commenting, this is so weird. She's behaving very strangely. And she says, and this is another thing. Okay, see if you can point out everything that people point out.
I got him out of the car seat and I laid him down and so I could get his diapers ready. And somebody said, hola, and that's all I remember. And I saw white. And a hearing sound, I fell on the floor. And I said, as I got up, I couldn't find my son. I checked around my truck. And I ran into Big Five. And I asked the lady if she saw a baby or someone with a baby. She said no. It was a happy boy. He smiled. Mackenzie loved to kiss him.
And you know, she's asked about the baby and she said he recently smiled. She says, bring him back, please. It's interesting that nobody likes this interview from the get-go, from the beginning. A lot of comments initially would start with, I don't want to be the one to say this, but it's kind of weird. Some point out that when she's talking, she sounds like she's trying to catch her breath by, again, pushing air outward, like a constant sighing, like constantly like this, but in a faster pace. A lot of acting coaches, body language experts, later they say that doesn't even freaking make sense. Okay, side note, you know the drill with body language experts. I will say I find them as confusing, but as fascinating as the buoyancy of cruise ships. I understand that there is science behind it, that there is a method behind it, but every cruise ship is going to be different and everybody has a starting point. I understand it, but also I am a little wary of using it as the only thing to say that someone is guilty. But when you watch this video, it is very weird. Body language experts say, again, she is sucking air. She's not sucking air inward. She's usually when someone breathes outward, they're trying to calm themselves down. And it's usually in a place of silence. But when you're emotional and you're trying to get words out and you're kind of panicked, which this is the situation, you're most likely going to suck the air inwards. As for her tears, people have pointed out the absence of any tears. But additionally, the whites of her eyes are not red. There's not really any mucus around her nose. And the whites of her eyes are actually very, very white, which just adds more suspicion to her story. However, I will say some body language experts also argue the opposite, that perhaps people have delayed emotional processing, mainly because they're still trying to digest and get through the shock, which would result in the lack of tears. However, those people that don't have tears, they typically don't look and sound like they're crying, just minus the tears. They'll just talk normally. So it's very odd. There's lots of sniffling, but not a lot of mucus, not a lot of snot, not a lot of tears, or really anything. People also say that her word choice is very fascinating. She says things like, he was a happy boy, he smiled. Obviously, past tense is strange. She also says things like, I fell on the floor. As soon as I got up, I couldn't find my son. I got him out of the car seat and I laid him down on the chair, and so I could get his diapers ready. And somebody said, Hola, and that's all I remember. I saw white, I fell on the floor, and as soon as I got up, I couldn't find my son. I checked all around the truck and ran into Big Five, and I asked the lady if she saw a baby or someone with a baby, and she said no. The first thing is it's very strange that she doesn't describe or explain any of the parts where she freaks out.
I see. She got up. There's no description of her state.
A lot of interrogators and investigators have said that's one of the biggest ways to see if somebody is lying about their perspective. Because when you are in a heightened emotional state, such as you wake up after you've been knocked out in a Big Five parking lot and your baby is gone, instantly your brain is actually focusing more on internal perspective. So there's going to be lots of emotions that seep through. It's going to be like, so I started freaking out and I started screaming because I couldn't find my son and I was panicked. There's lots of like internal. So I thought maybe this happened, maybe that happened. So then I checked around the truck.
Yeah, like if you're making up a story, you probably will think of the train of actions instead of like, oh, I'm feeling this way at this point.
Yes.
Oh.
And even the train of actions don't make sense because people are saying, why are you not just screaming like, help, someone call 911? Why don't you call 911 immediately? Why aren't you screaming anything? Also, the fact that you walk into the Big Five store and you have the time to go ask an employee, have you seen my son? Is very bizarre because your son is 7 months old. Your son is not crawling into the store by himself. Yeah. None of that makes sense. Maybe if your son was 10, it would make more sense, but no, it doesn't make sense. Also, another thing with the internal POV is a lot of the times you have hypotheses that are in there. And she doesn't have that. You don't have theories. So people will say things like, I woke up and when I got back up, I was terrified. My heart was racing. I thought maybe someone hit me with a baseball.
Yeah.
I thought maybe Emmanuel fell out of the car seat.
Yeah.
So then there's like all of these, or I thought someone brought him in there because something ABCD, but it's not just, then I walked on. I did this.
She's just a really bad actor, huh?
Yeah. Additionally, she just uses a lot of distancing language. Him instead of Emmanuel or even my son. It's weird. Also, the fact that she says she got up off the floor when she's outside in a parking lot, that would be the ground. Or when she set Emmanuel down on the chair instead of the seat of the car. Usually people will say seat, not a chair, when you reference the seat of the car. A lot of people thought that was strange. Some point out it could be the language barrier. However, others think, no, maybe this is her trying to pull from other memories where something similar happened. Not an abduction, but some sort of incident involving Emmanuel where she was knocked down onto the floor because clearly she has a black eye. Like she got this black eye from somewhere and she's trying to reconstruct this new story around her previous emotions. That's the initial internet speculation. But more than that, people thought it was also weird that in 2 separate interviews, she mentions that she didn't see this alleged abductor. She didn't see what he's wearing. She didn't see his face. All she knows about the kidnapper is that he said, Hola. But in the 2 interviews, her tone and cadence for Hola are different.
Somebody said hola, and somebody said hola, and that's all I remember.
And if this is the only thing you have on the kidnapper,
Yeah.
you would focus a lot about the voice, the tone.
Yes.
It sounded like he was a smoker. It sounded like he was older. It sounded like he had a husky voice. There's really no descriptions of the voice. Just he said, hola.
Okay, again, so this happened. She called the police and the news reporter came.
Yes.
And they conduct this interview just like, hey, what happened? Tell me what happened. And she just did an innocent interview
Yes.
with the news. And then everyone's like, you are lying.
Yeah.
Wow.
Everyone. And even the fact that this alleged abductor would even say hola, people don't believe that, because why would you do that? You're trying to surprise attack someone and you say hello first before you knock them out. It sounds like something that only happens in the movies. Why leave the mother of the child you're abducting with the recollection of your voice to be able to identify you later? Why give her the chance to even turn around and glance at you? If someone talks to you, you're going to try and glance up and see who just said hola. Why even give her the opportunity? Why don't you just fully sneak up on her? It just doesn't make sense. There's also these little parts where she's out there and strangers are praying for her and they're placing their hands on the top of her head. And she just has very uncomfortable body language. In another video of Rebecca, she's standing there and she's holding hands with family members while a member of the community wants to pray for them. Her left hand is holding her mom's hand and Rebecca's right hand is free. And her thumb is scratching her middle finger. I've done this motion before. This motion I usually do when I'm really
Anxious?
not anxious. It's like, I don't really want to be at a location because maybe I'm anxious, maybe I have social anxiety, but it's not like this overwhelming, oh, I'm about to have a panic attack. It's just, I feel very uncomfy. I feel like I feel weird. Maybe I feel like I look crazy and someone looked at me and maybe they think that I smell and I feel very uncomfortable, but I can't really get out of here. So my shoulders go up and I'm kind of scratching my middle finger and I'm like, it's just an uncomfortable situation. It's not anxiety. It's just, I feel weird. Maybe I feel gross and maybe they think I'm smelly. Like that's the vibe. I thought it was interesting because I have never done that motion when I'm under stress, panic, or anxiety. Like actual stress, panic, or anxiety. It's always kind of like, I just feel a little uncomfy. A lot of experts point out that that's not a self-soothing motion, at least in times of grief or panic. Usually, you will see palms on thighs. You'll see lots of people rub their chest or even touch their face or their hair. Research apparently shows that self-soothing mechanisms in high stress are broad, low-intensity stimulations of the skin. You're going to have large muscle groups. You're going to have your whole hand. You're going to have your whole shoulders, your chest. You're not going to have 2 fingers. And you're going to be rubbing a lot rather than scratching because you want to have low-intensity stimulation of the skin. You don't want something to be painful or even too intense because you're just not in that state.
Yeah, that makes sense.
This is very strange, which means did Rebecca do something to Emmanuel? And why? And also, what about Jake Haro, Emmanuel's dad, who stayed behind at the football game? Does he not find her interview suspicious? If you saw your partner, the mother of your child or the father of your child or whoever, have these interviews, would you not look at them a certain way? Jake accompanies Rebecca in a few of her media interviews, and although he's clearly wasn't there during when this alleged kidnapping takes place, he's standing next to Rebecca and he's telling the news station, a police officer got on the phone and let me know what was going on. That's when I got hysterical. I started panicking. Some netizens felt it was more in line with internal POV, but then it gets weird. I guess Jake is asked about any distinctive features on Emmanuel, which understandably, Emmanuel is a very little boy. I get it. He's a little boy. There may not be so many distinctive features on him at this age, but Jake responds. He has a little lazy eye. It's the only thing that's distinctive about him. He has no birthmarks. Beautiful, healthy baby boy, 7-month-old baby. I feel like there's got to be other things.
Yeah, that sounds very detached to describe your own son. No?
Yeah. I mean, I have 2 nieces, and I feel like even when they were 1 month old,
You would try very hard to describe your kid because like you're gonna give as much details as possible. Like, oh, they look like this, they have this feature, right?
Yes.
But you're saying his description is like that. That's it.
I mean, I feel like I would sit there and give a full description of physical attributes, but also he cries in the morning when ABC happens. He's very scared of the dark. He does this, he does that. but just nothing. He just has a lazy eye. I mean, I feel like there's got to be on other things. In another part, he says he was a healthy baby. He was crawling, he was kicking, he was playing with his toys. And I've listened to this clip so many times. A lot of netizens say that they hear it was kicking rather than he was kicking. I can kind of hear both. So I don't want to say definitively, but it's still interesting that none of these are personal attributes. It's just like random developmental check marks for kids. I mean, I think he could have ended with, he's a healthy baby boy, but his personality was ABC. Here's this very specific thing that he would do and we miss him so much. It's just odd. Additionally, he also keeps using past tense. I tried to look into it. I couldn't find rock solid studies that are super firm. Oh, if you use past tense, that means you're guilty in a situation like this. But it is pretty well known amongst humans that relatives will typically use present tense for people that are missing. Even relatives in cases where their loved ones have been missing for years, they tend to use present tense. Clearly, this doesn't apply to every single person out there, especially when it's been years later. This is when it happens, when a relative is missing, a lot of present tense. But some families, even years later, will keep using present tense because one of the biggest things is they say that it feels like they're suspended in space. There's no closure. Even when authorities say they've been gone for 2 years, it's likely that they're dead. They still use present tense because you only remember them like that. There was no event where your brain can rationalize, okay, they are now gone. It's very difficult to say, but this is Jake Haro and Rebecca Haro less than 24 hours into Emmanuel being missing using past tense.
He was a healthy baby. He was crawling, he was kicking, and he was playing with his toys.
In another interview, you have Rebecca and Jake both standing there. Jake is wearing a white hoodie. Rebecca is in short sleeves. And Jake is... He's strangely standing there holding up a missing poster for the camera, just constantly in front of him, almost blocking his torso. The missing poster has a picture of Emmanuel at the top, and under it in big red letters, it reads, missing kid, Emmanuel Haro, 7 months old. And in black, it says, please contact dad, Jake's phone number, mother, Rebecca's phone number. And we're going to come back to this because netizens think just missing kid is weird. So just say missing kid. It's very, again, distancing language. Instead of Emmanuel Haro, 7 months old, please find my baby. It's just like missing kid. Jake takes a small step towards the camera.
We come to you guys asking you to help us find our son. He was abducted last night from Big 5. Somebody struck my wife while she was trying to change his diaper.
Rebecca's in the background making these periodic noises of pain. It's like, she also talks very high-pitched in this one, and she says, don't hesitate to call.
Don't hesitate, just call.
His name is Emmanuel. He's 7 months old. And when they start getting emotional, both of them get this distant look in their eyes, as if they're just like looking into the vast beyond, into a black hole, a portal into a parallel universe, searching for answers. It's odd. I feel like maybe this would be more reasonable if their son had been missing for years, to have this very disconnected stare where it seems like they're just not here. But right now, it seems like a high intensity, momentum building, adrenaline rushing moment. Why are you staring off into the distance? When asked about any updates, Rebecca says, no, we don't have any. They haven't told us anything. Jake states, they said that they don't have any major updates. He mentions that there's a community search party at 4:30, and he says, we're just asking you guys if you guys could help us, you know? Rebecca's in the back. She's grunting. Please.
This is what he looks like. He's just a baby. Just give our son back, please.
He was wearing a black onesie with a Nike swoosh on him.
Jake sounds emotional, kind of similar to Rebecca, but both of their faces are very scrunched up. However, it's hard to say if they're crying or not. He's just a baby. Just give our son back, please. People have a field day with Jake's interview as well. They point out it's weird that he uses the word diaper instead of a diaper. It almost comes off intentionally. I'm just a harmless man. Diaper is weird.
Wow.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Others point out that Rebecca and Jake don't look very close in the interview. Sure, they're both stressed out, but they don't seem like a unit looking for their son. They're not comforting each other, something that they're just on different wavelengths. I will say there is another video of them where they are sitting down and Jake is holding up the missing kid poster and Rebecca is recounting the events to the reporter of how someone said hola before she got knocked out. They're holding hands, but because the sides of their chair are pretty high, the way that they're holding hands, Rebecca's shoulder is like all the way up, and her arm is bent very uncomfortably. It doesn't appear like they're holding hands to get comfort because it's not comfortable. One behavior analysis expert on YouTube says, it's interesting because Jake is not comforting Rebecca. In fact, he seems more intent on engaging with the camera, which one could argue, sure, you do want to engage with the media because media will help get eyes on your case and eyes will help you look for Emmanuel. But in the interviews, none of them are really begging either. Usually parents of missing children, there's a lot of begging involved, begging, pleading to the public, the people, the abductor, the police, like God, it's just a lot of begging, understandably. But there's not a lot of begging. There's not a lot of, there is a lot of engaging with the camera, but not begging. At one point, Jake just straight up looks at the camera and states, whoever took our son, please give him back. And he does this and he wipes a tear off the side of his face. And people thought that was weird too. People say when you are initially crying, especially when you're standing or sitting up straight, sure, when you're laying down 2 years full of tears, everybody knows that song. But when you're standing straight and you first start crying, they'll usually come out in the inner corners. And then when your eyes are overflowing with tears, they'll start dripping from all corners.
Okay, so what does that even mean?
But he just is wiping one tear from the side of his face, outer cheek. And there's not even a tear. He just wipes it.
Oh, he's looking. Oh,
yeah. So it's
he makes a gesture of wiping it, but it's like, how is there a tear from the corner of your eyes?
We don't even see the tear.
Yeah.
And if there is the most microscopic tear that's not caught on camera, it would just be a weird placement for the tear to come out because it seems like it's his first tear to come out.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Additionally, the white hoodie that he's wearing is fascinating to people because this area is Cabazon. In near Los Angeles, it's where the outlets were. Do you remember?
Uh-huh.
You would drive I want to say 2 hours because there was.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
And it's in Cabazon. Oh, is it 2 hours? I feel like.
And it's hot.
Not only is it hot, they were going through a record heat wave.
And he's wearing a hoodie.
Yes. Why is he wearing a hoodie?
What the heck? Yeah.
Some overly enthusiastic netizens, whether understandably or not, are wondering if he's hiding something under those hoodies, like wounds, because why are you wearing a hoodie?
That's more than weird.
Yeah, it's very strange. There's this interesting video taken by someone who was there with Rebecca and Jake right before the media interview. They receive, I don't know if it's a family friend, I don't know who it is, but they come in with a box of printed flyers, the missing kid flyers. It's in a little paper box. Jake is handed it. He opens it up and he's staring at the sack of flyers. Rebecca stares at the flyers, stares at him, stares at the flyers, stares at him, just darting her eyes back and forth repeatedly. It's like she's trying to gauge his reaction to the flyers, which people thought was very interesting because why are you not focusing on the flyers themselves? You're his mom. Wouldn't you want to make sure that everything that is necessary is on the flyers, that the phone number is correct? It's just weird. And Jake has this very stoic, expressionless face for what feels like 5 seconds, but it was probably closer to 3. And finally, he starts looking sad. She then looks down at the flyers and starts crying. And it's only then that she has any sort of emotion. She's just staring back at the flyers, back at him, back at the flyers. It's weird. These interviews are so unsettling that people on the internet are instantly talking about how maybe if you want a 0 rating on IMDb, you hire these two because there's no way they're telling the truth. They're acting. This is an act, which means Emmanuel was never kidnapped, which means where the hell is he? And what did his parents do to him? That is the main sentiment. So much so that Jake's own sister comes out with her own TikTok where she explains the whole story in depth. She's trying to clear the air, just make people understand the real situation.
So she realized that he had went to the bathroom on himself. Of course, he's a baby.
People are like, that itself is weird. What do you mean? Of course he is. Isn't he wearing a diaper? That's what happens when you wear a diaper. You use the restroom in the diaper.
She laid him down in the back. Her back was turned. She was about to change him. She was getting everything prepared. And she felt a tap on her shoulder.
So now people are like, okay, now there was a tap on her shoulder. She turned around and all she heard was Hola. So she turned around and then heard Hola.
And before she could even see this person, acknowledge this person, whatever the case may be, he socked her in the face, and she ended up blacking out. He knocked her out and she fell to the floor. And
that a lot of people have contentions with as well. Rebecca kept saying that she saw white when she was knocked out. A lot of people have reported that you typically see black. And usually you see white before you faint or you get very woozy. But again, that could just be like a person-specific thing. But it was very random.
Next thing you know, as she came to, she woke up. She was looking around for the baby. The baby was gone.
Which again, just the direction of everything, it's like, okay, the baby was gone. She was looking for the baby.
She's a great mother. So everything you guys are saying about her, first of all, you don't know her, and show some compassion. Like she just had her son taken from her.
I think it's unfair to say that a lot of people didn't have compassion. That weekend, like I said, were record-breaking heat waves in the area of Cabazon. It was 105 degrees. This is very dry desert heat area. There's lots of dust everywhere. The National Weather Service even put out a statement to Cabazon residents: do not leave your children and pets unattended in cars. Car interiors will reach lethal temperatures in a matter of minutes. People were out there wearing t-shirts that read, "Where is the baby?" They're out there searching for Emmanuel while Jake is giving weird interviews holding up the world's most aggressively bland and emotionless missing kid flyer. The community is out there searching for Emmanuel. They don't believe Rebecca and Jake, but they're looking for Emmanuel, which is proving to be very difficult because in order to find someone, you should start with the last place they were last seen. But if Rebecca is lying, then where was Emmanuel last seen? And when was he even last seen? We don't even know that. The Yucaipa police released a statement. Canine scent tracking dogs were deployed, but the child was not located. No suspect information is available at this time. In the absence of any meaningful information to go off of, the internet starts listing off rapid fire questions like a full-on interrogation. There's so many holes in Rebecca's story that it's starting to resemble the surface of Mars more than reality, such as, I don't know, let's start simple. If you're already bringing Emmanuel into Big Five, this is what a lot of parents are asking, because you're not leaving him in the car, especially not in the midst of a heat wave, why not change him in the bathroom, where they likely have a changing station? She never mentions that he had a blowout or some sort of, because that's when, the poop will come out. She just smelled that he needed a diaper change. So why not bring him into the store? Why do it in the car? Some people are like, okay, I could see maybe it's quicker, it's easier than looking for the bathroom inside the store. The store is probably big. You got to walk further. She's trying to pop in and out. But still, and in a non-remarkably bright moment, one of Rebecca's family members tries to defend all of this by stating it's because Emmanuel didn't have his vaccines yet, so Rebecca would never bring him out of the car. And that was all they said about it. So a few things with that is, what do you mean? She just leaves him in the car unattended? Like, what was her plan going into Big Five? Change his diaper and then walk into the store while he waits in the car? Secondly, a lot of netizens start stringing together the very obvious threads of suspicion, like the fact that a lot of abusive parents do not take their children to be vaccinated because they know that a lot of the signs of abuse are too big to ignore for pediatricians. But there are other questions too. Rebecca states that she pulls into the parking lot. She's about to go in, about to change the diaper, that whoever kidnapped Emmanuel either took a chance that this specific car had a child in it, and that nobody was in the back seat or the passenger seat. Nobody would be able to help Rebecca. There was not another adult there. And that this Big Five store doesn't have cameras. Somehow manages to kidnap the kid without evidence of some larger premeditated operation. It's a lot of luck for a shitty person. It doesn't make sense. There are reports that Big Five employees have told journalists, and if true, the authorities as well, they say the couple are just straight up lying. They say earlier in the month, they came in asking if the shop had surveillance cameras because their car had been broken into and they wanted to see if they could catch the culprit.
Oh my God, that is crazy.
And if that's true, it's even weirder that Rebecca would allegedly, not really, but allegedly change his diaper in the parking lot where her car was broken into. Because if your car was broken into in that parking lot, you would feel unsafe. But now you're going to change your baby's diaper with the door wide open in this area? Another alleged employee from the Big Five store writes online, she did not have her baby on the day of the alleged kidnapping. The public has the right to know this woman has lied about having a baby with her when she didn't. But what is getting ignored, other than all of these questions, are also the calls coming in from the missing kid flyer. There are 2 phone numbers listed on that flyer, Jake and Rebecca, and neither of them are picking up any of the calls. Turns out Rebecca actually disconnects her phone number after these flyers go out, which is sufficiently suspicious. It's argued that she had to. Her mom is like, no, Rebecca had to because people were calling her and leaving her death threats because they didn't believe her story, and it felt like she was behaving strangely in the interviews with media. Which some netizens agree, but I would say majority of netizens think that's insane. Because no matter how many death threats you get, if there's a chance that there is one legitimate phone call that brings you closer to bringing your 7-month kid home, I don't think people will care.
Yeah.
Why not keep your phone on? Jake does not disconnect his phone, but he just stops responding. At one point, the absence of all of these statements, the absence of any answers to these questions that make any sense, they decide that there's going to be another family representative. Rebecca's mom, Mary, she starts talking for Rebecca.
So Rebecca's mom and Jake's sister,
Yeah.
they're all outspoken.
Yes.
They're all supporting the couple.
Seems like it, or at least at that point. Mary does a few interviews and she tells the news,
they're not going to hurt that baby. That couple were just homebodies.
She later tells reporters that Emmanuel is Rebecca's pride and joy and that she waited years to finally have a baby of her own. Which is weird because Rebecca has 2 kids from a previous marriage and she has a 2-year-old daughter with Jake Caro. So Emmanuel is her youngest. She has a 2-year-old daughter. So maybe she meant she was waiting to have a son, because it seems that her 2 previous kids from the previous marriage are daughters, and she has a 2-year-old daughter, and maybe she was waiting years to have a son, but it's just weird. Regardless, Mary says that without Emmanuel, Rebecca is just, quote, she's just going crazy. She can't handle it anymore. She's been without her baby since yesterday afternoon. If you have my grandson, please give it to his mom. She's going crazy. Please have mercy on her.
Oh, this is only 24 hours in?
Yeah.
They disconnected their phone 24 hours in?
Red sauce, guacamole. It's like a Taco Tuesday disaster. These are my arch enemies in the kitchen and in the laundry room. When you're scrubbing out evidence from a spaghetti night gone wrong, Tide Free and Gentle has your back. Tide Free and Gentle delivers a powerful clean without perfumes, dyes, or irritants. It's just 100% hypoallergenic care. Its concentrated formula means less waste, less water, and more time for your next true crime deep dive. It even works in cold water. I mean, talk about cracking a cold case. No cover-ups or compromises here. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Free and Gentle. When my family and I opened Grandpa Mango's art studio for a limited time, we were unsure about everything, if I'm going to be so real with you. How can we make checkout safe for customers? How do we handle inventory with an online business? How do we know when we're not going to crash and burn? Shopify was there for us, but you guys were amazing and you guys supported Grandpa Mango's art too. So we have a little something to share with you. It's top secret. It's between you and me, but we have something in the works. And just like Grandpa Mango's art studio, we could not do this without Shopify. Shopify is the e-commerce platform for small businesses. Get a stunning store that's made to sell. You can design faster with AI, choose a stylish theme, or build completely custom for full control. In person and online, sell face-to-face and keep offline and online sales in sync with Shopify's point of sale. Turn those what ifs into why nots and keep giving those big dreams the best shot with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/rotten. Go to shopify.com/rotten. Shopify.com/rotten. A lot of the updates from this case have been broken by a boots-on-the-ground journalist named Ahmed Belozo, who goes by On the Tira on TikTok. He is almost always the first on the scene. It doesn't matter if it's in the middle of the night, in the middle of a blazing heat storm. He's also going through cancer treatments, and he deserves a lot of the credit in this case. On the same hand, though, I will say there has been lots of controversy and discourse about how there will be news that's broken that is later turned out to not be correct. I think sometimes when you have boots on the ground reporting, especially with people who are reporting through social media, I'm not saying that they're lesser or not as lesser, like mainstream media, you get the vibe, but it's just, there's a lot more passion, which I think is necessary for cases. But sometimes there are moments where things are incorrect and the public is misled, and there will be a report that is ultimately not true. But the thing with On the Tira is he always corrects himself, which is very commendable. So if he reports something that everybody was saying is true and he realizes it's not true, he will be one of the first ones to be like, hey guys, I'm so sorry about that. That's not true. So I've taken it all down. I think he means incredibly well. He's very passionate about this case and he's done a lot for his community as well as for this case. There have been some reported tensions between a lot of social media reporters and the police, however.
What, police didn't like people talking about it online so much?
Because there were numerous false reports. So the police were pretty cutthroat about how much they didn't like this. And then I think it's not On the Tira and people like On the Tira. I think the police have a problem with this case got so weird that a TikToker decided that they were going to do tours of the Haro residence later when it's vacated. And they were just breaking and entering into the Haro residence to give tours and charging people money. So I think the police's anger is targeted at those types of people on social media. But
what do you mean
never be
charging
certain.
people money?
Like, hey, if you want to go into the empty Haro residence while it's empty right now, give me $10.
I'll take you in there?
Yeah, because I've already broken the back door.
And people will do it?
Yeah. I don't know if they were successful in getting in, but it seems like people were trying to get it.
Okay.
Now, On the Tira goes to interview Mary, the grandmother. And in the interview, Mary states, I'm Mary. I'm the mother of Rebecca's mom. Or I'm, Rebecca's mom. That's how she said it.
Please help us find him. If you have him, please return him. We don't want nothing. We will not do anything. Just leave the baby somewhere where we can find him, somewhere that is safe for him.
His mother?
She's not doing good. She's heartbroken.
She was injured.
Yes, she was injured. She was knocked out.
There's no video?
No video. Store doesn't have video.
On the Tira asks the appropriate questions, the ones that mainstream media were not asking, like, how long was she unconscious when she was knocked out? Nobody knows. Furthermore, like, what do you mean there was no CCTV cameras, no witnesses? It doesn't make sense. She's like, well, I don't really know what's going on with the case. They haven't told us anything. That's the worst thing. They don't tell us nothing. Keep your eyes open for this baby. Please, please. We just lost another grandson. We just buried a grandson last Tuesday, but we can't go through this again. Please just bring us the baby. Just tell us where he's at. Just leave him somewhere safe. To provide some context, I know you're looking very shocked. The the grandson in question is an adult. I mean, still not great, but
Wait, somebody died in the
yes,
family?
Rebecca's sibling's son, but he was an adult.
Unrelated.
It appears that he overdosed on fentanyl. Now, as much as she's being very vocal about finding Emmanuel, it appears that she has updated her Facebook since his kidnapping and hasn't really posted much about Emmanuel. Furthermore, during all the media interviews, the grandma doesn't cry either. So Rebecca's not crying, Jake's not crying, and Rebecca's mom, Emmanuel's grandmother, is not crying. And according to On the Tira, Mary has never even met Emmanuel before in the past 7 months.
Wow.
Another part that's very contentious because after all of this is just like floating in the air. People have all these questions and they decide, now that we think about it, that black eye is weird. It's weird. It's very prominent when she does the media interviews asking for help. One person comments, usually for an injury like that, the first 24 hours, your whole eye is kind of swollen shut. But you're not going to have this like brown outline. You're not going to it's not going to look like a black eye. It's going to look just like a bee stung your eye. It's swollen. It's red. The bruising isn't going to show up for probably close to like 3 to 4 days. And it's not even just that. This color of bruising, this almost yellowish on the outer corners, that's near the process of healing.
Yeah. But is it a real bruise?
Yes. It is a real black eye.
Oh,
but it looks old.
It's been there?
Yeah. It looks like it's been there for a minute. So far, everything has been suspicious, right? Everything is weird, but you could be like, well, body language. Well, maybe there's a language barrier. Well, maybe this, maybe that, right? Maybe it's a coincidence. The black eye is just medically not sound. A lot of medical professionals are saying that just doesn't make sense. Like if I saw that in the hospital, if a patient had that, I would never in a million years think that was from the last 24 hours. Like this is just not how the human body works. Mm-hmm. So if the black eye is not from the day of the alleged kidnapping, that would be the very first tangible piece of information to indicate that something is definitely not right. Additionally, there are some reports of witnesses who knew Rebecca who said that, actually, we've seen her with this black eye since August 3rd. She reported a kidnapping August 14th. But what does that mean? I mean, maybe she already had the black eye that was healing, and then she did get punched in the face and got knocked out, but it didn't cause another black eye? Or maybe she wasn't punched in the face, in the eye. Maybe she was punched somewhere else and she just kind of correlated the two because she had pain in her eye. Maybe, right? It doesn't mean anything. So she was allegedly seen with a black eye August 3rd. There was a funeral held August 5th for another family member. Apparently she had the black eye then too, which she didn't have Emmanuel at the funeral. Her excuse was, again, he hasn't been vaccinated yet, but it's just strange. A lot of people say, actually, we haven't seen Emmanuel since the beginning of August. What's happening? There have been other unconfirmed reports from the alleged Big Five incident where an employee has allegedly come out to say she had that black eye prior to the incident. A manager asked her if she was okay, and she happily said that she walked into a wall and had a laugh. Also, that time when she came into the Big Five store was weeks before Emmanuel went missing, and she had no baby with her. Naturally, netizens start to begin to suspect that Jake is the one that gave her the black eye, and he must have done something to Emmanuel as well. Even in the interviews, people notice that not only are the couple not really comforting each other, even at times where they appear to be comforting each other, she is oriented away from Jake. Rebecca is consistently turned away from him, and he doesn't really turn towards her either. Some people think that she appears to be in fear for him. So 10 days after Emmanuel was reported missing, he's still not found, and it's pretty evident that the authorities aren't really hopeful. The search starts focusing mainly on the mountain areas of the Freeway 60. I mean, you can just imagine that there's not going to be a 7-month-old baby that is surviving 10 days out there. It's like a mountainside. The police are focusing their search there. But more pertinent than that is that the police are not alone. Someone led them here to look for Emmanuel, and that someone is wearing an orange jumpsuit. Jake Harrow, Emmanuel's father, a new inmate at Larry D. Smith Correctional Facility, is out there looking for Emmanuel's body. Because 2 days before this search, the DA decides that they're going to have a press conference, and they say that they were looking for Emmanuel. They pulled the CCTV cameras from nearby stores because Big Five didn't have their own working cameras in the parking lot. There were other stores. There were stores across the street. They go through footage and it's pretty instant. They think Rebecca is hiding something. They know that she knows more than she's letting on, and she knows that they know that. Once they get the surveillance footage, Rebecca stops cooperating. She instantly shuts up, stops cooperating, refuses to take a polygraph, which is like the least suspicious thing, I think, when you refuse to take a polygraph. But it is the most suspicious thing if you're the 7-month-old's parents. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm conflicted because I am a staunch supporter of do not take a polygraph, do not talk to police without an attorney present. I probably would lawyer up in this situation, but I think I would take a polygraph because if a loved one is missing, the more time the police spend investigating me when I didn't do anything is less time that they're looking for my loved one.
Yeah, but like you said, right, you never want to,
But I think because of everything else, it's weird.
Exactly.
Forensic teams are seen going in and out of the Harrow house, and it's reported that police have found, quote, a substantial amount of blood inside the house. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office makes a statement. Numerous interviews have been conducted. Search warrants have been served. Digital and electronic evidence has been collected and closely analyzed. Based on the evidence, investigators determined a kidnapping in Yucaipa did not occur 8 days after Emmanuel was reported missing.
When Rebecca Harrow reported that her son had been kidnapped, folks, within 24 hours through video surveillance, we found inconsistencies in Rebecca's statement.
Rebecca and Jake are arrested for Emmanuel's murder. Jake Mitchell Haro and Rebecca Renee Haro are charged with willfully and unlawfully murdering their baby Emmanuel with malice, with the Riverside DA Mike Hestron saying that they do not believe Emmanuel is alive. So not only do they think that he is dead, but that he suffered prolonged abuse prior to his death. The filing in this case reflects our belief that baby Emmanuel was the victim of child abuse over time, and that eventually, because of the abuse, he succumbed to his injuries. There are also unconfirmed reports that Rebecca and Jake had gotten rid of all of Emmanuel's clothes and photos of him. Because when they conducted that search warrant, that was the report that started coming out. They had no clothes of Emmanuel. They had no photos of Emmanuel inside that house. It's like he never even existed, which is pretty ballsy because either they hate being confronted with what they've allegedly done, or they're genuinely just ready to move on. October 12th, 2018. This is 7 years ago, before Emmanuel goes missing, before he was even born. Jake goes to the police with an iPad. It's about his second wife, Vanessa. Jake has been married 3 times. The first wife served restraining orders on him. The second wife, he gets arrested with. The third wife is Rebecca. He also gets arrested with her. But he's saying, hey, something really bad happened to my second wife, Vanessa. He sits down with the investigators and he's like showing them this iPad. My sister actually was the one to find this. She picked it up and was going to Google something, but it was already open on a search tab. And he shows the investigators the iPad. And sure enough, at 1:19 a.m., there's a search that, the search is weird. The only ones that have access to this iPad are Jake and his wife, Vanessa. This Google search obviously wasn't made by him. He's like, I did not touch this iPad at 1:19 a.m. So obviously it must have been Vanessa. And the police are asking him, do you think Vanessa is capable of this Google search and all of this? And he's like, if you had asked me 8 years ago, 8 months ago, I would have said no. But now I think she's capable. The Google search on the iPad reads, is it hard to feed an infant with fractured ribs?
Okay.
October 12th, 2018, a medically unsound incident takes place at Jake's house. Jake and Vanessa are taking care of their young infant daughter who happens to be sick. She's 10 weeks old, so she's tiny. This is a little baby girl. We're going to call her Baby A. In less than 24 hours, this baby is going to go from having a fever and being sick to being in the emergency room with an acute fracture of the posterior left fifth rib, healing fractures of almost all of her ribs, a skull fracture, brain hemorrhaging, significant soft tissue swelling in the neck, and a healing tibia fracture on the right leg. The doctors noticed that this little baby had suffered from at least 2 seizures, which would have been incredibly painful, and she was having difficulty breathing. When the couple, Jake and Vanessa, get to the hospital, Jake's whole explanation for this would statistically rival the chances of going on a flight to Montana, but then getting sucked into a black hole in space and spit back out on the set of Barbie. Like, it's just crazy. His explanation for all these injuries is, well, you know that like middle divider in the kitchen sink? You know how the kitchen sink, there's a middle divider and then you got one side of the sink and then the other side of the sink?
Yeah.
Well, the baby fell onto that divider, chest first. So he decided because his daughter was sick, he was going to give her a bath in the kitchen sink. At one point, he was holding her up to rinse the soap from her, and she slips out of his hands, falls onto that middle divider, and her chest hits that center. He didn't see any major injuries. She seemed fine. It was a little slip and fall here and there. What's that to worry about for a 10-week-old? He does nothing. Vanessa gets home, he says nothing. It's not until the middle of the night Vanessa is checking up on their daughter and she starts shaking Jake awake because, hurry, feel her back, something's weird. Sure enough, he feels her back, this 10-week-old, and he feels a crackling noise like popcorn. Jake's like, I never felt that all day, so it must have been Vanessa that did something. And look at this iPad search. She was trying to feed her with fractured ribs. According to court documentation, the declaration in support of the arrest warrant, the doctor treating the little girl clearly has a difference in opinion from Jake with no medical degree. She states, findings of intracranial hemorrhaging are consistent with acceleration-deceleration forces of the head with traumatic stress on the neck. The skull fracture is consistent with impact to the head. Multiple rib fractures are typically caused by a squeezing mechanism of the chest. The healing tibial fracture is likely secondary to a traumatic twisting mechanism. Effectively stating, the history of a short fall onto the kitchen sink does not explain her extensive and severe head trauma or her multiple rib fractures. Those are indicative of abuse, head trauma and physical abuse and nutritional neglect. Jake Haro is arrested for willful child cruelty and pleads guilty, along with his wife. This is very interesting because he was not offered a plea deal. You can plead guilty without having a plea deal.
Right.
Okay, so when you're offered a plea deal, your attorney are typically working with the prosecutors and you're trying to get the most advantageous plea deal. You're trying to get, okay, the prosecutors are going to tell the judge, we recommend this sentencing, and the judge will usually follow that. When you just plead guilty without a plea deal, it's just all up to the judge. The judge gets to do whatever he freaking wants to Jake and his then wife, Vanessa, the little girl's parents. And in a decision that confuses people as much as they want to... you want to force feed the criminal justice system like 5 gallons of bleach because Jake pleads guilty and he is given 180 days in a work release program. So not even jail or prison. He's given a suspended 4-year sentence, meaning he doesn't have to be in prison, and ordered to attend a child abuser treatment program and like 20 hours of community service.
So you got a slap on the wrist.
Not even a slap on the wrist. I feel like that, I don't even know how you categorize that. You don't even, like, I think he spent 1 day in jail.
Wow. Like, that's not normal for these type of, so what the hell is going on?
And I'm always a little confused by cases like this because, I mean, sure, I think that we can all agree we are kind of a diabolical nation. We tend to make everything political. Basic human rights are also political. Sometimes judges will make some heinous decisions because that's how they align themselves politically. Or they're friends with lots of rich people and these rich people are doing some crazy things and they want to protect those rich people. However, I was under the impression that child abusers, especially... And this is like weird to say because, I mean, we all know that people protect the wealthy. So if you've got a wealthy child abuser, you have this nerve-wracking feeling of like, okay, they might get away with it.
Right. What is this one all about?
Exactly. I feel like
who are they protecting?
Jake Haro is a free communal soccer ball left at the park that everyone gets to kick around free of charge. And as a judge, if you throw the book at this random child abuser, I cannot imagine anything but praise coming the judge's way. Who would object? It's odd behavior that I cannot relate to. Even the prosecutor told the judge to please reconsider and stated to the judge that they firmly believe this is a case that deserves a lengthy prison sentence. I don't believe it should be controversial anymore to petition that every judge not be allowed to use honorable in their title because this is not honorable. And just to piss everyone off more, Jake even later comments on the sentencing for this that he felt it was, quote, fair. Yeah.
Wow. What about the ex-wife? Same thing?
Same thing. Now, Baby A's family have given news networks consent to share these photos and as a warning for what Jake Haro is capable of doing. She is just 10 weeks old in these photos. This is after the abuse. She's in the hospital. She's just like hooked up to machines. And I think it's always hard to see children in hospitals because the machines just look so abnormally big compared to their tiny little bodies. And one of Vanessa's cousins, so Vanessa is the mother of Baby A and the second wife. One of Vanessa's cousins ends up adopting Baby A and another son that they had together. And she is raising them as her own, which hasn't been easy. The son has fetal alcohol syndrome, which means Vanessa was drinking throughout the entirety of her pregnancy for actually both of her children. However, it did not seem that Baby A had fetal alcohol syndrome, but it's I guess it's something netizens are wondering. But Baby A is older now. She's 7 years old. She is blind. She is unable to walk. She's unable to talk or swallow due to damage from being strangulated at that young of an age.
You're kidding me. These are all from the injury?
Yeah. She only has 3% of her brain function. She needs full round-the-clock care for the rest of her life. She uses a feeding tube. I mean, Jake nearly killed this baby, and they let him go. So then he has 2 more babies with Rebecca, and it seems like he killed Emmanuel. Vanessa's cousin, since Jake and Vanessa can't and should not take care of Baby A, she decides that she's going to do it. So she takes them and she's been taking care of them. And she's actually just taken in a third of Jake's children. So Vanessa is the second wife. Mm-hmm. The 2 kids that Vanessa's cousin has taken are Vanessa's 2 kids.
Yeah, that's her cousin's kids. Yeah.
But now, the 2-year-old daughter that Rebecca and Jake Haro had didn't have anywhere to go, and so she's taken them in too.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And when she first saw interviews of Rebecca and Jake Haro talking about how Emmanuel was kidnapped, she immediately just had a very bad feeling that this story just doesn't make sense. I don't even know how Jake is allowed to have children, let alone be free, but let alone have children in his care after nearly killing his daughter and pleading guilty to it. So now both Rebecca and Jake have been arrested for murder with malice, and netizens suspect that the two will eventually turn on each other, probably Jake first, because that seems like what he was trying to do with Vanessa in 2018.
But you say that Jake came out of the prison to guide them to search?
Yes, so that was all over the news, and that's why people were like, this is indicative that he's gonna turn on Rebecca. He's working with the police. We don't see Rebecca out there. So it seems like he's trying to cooperate to make it throw this all on Rebecca.
Yeah.
That was the initial feeling. That is all. It gets weird. People think that they're playing mind games right now.
Okay. So you're saying they didn't find the baby?
No, not yet. To this day.
Oh, so he came out to say, hey, let me show you guys?
Well, okay, it's very unclear of why they ended up at this place, but we do know that on the side of Freeway 60, they're looking for baby Emmanuel with the police and with Jake. He's in his prison orange jumpsuit and they're looking. We don't know if because police saw their cell phone records and were like, why were you here for so long? We don't know if it's Jake being like, oh, let me take you where I left his body and leading them on a goose chase. We don't know.
Okay, so we just saw them outside.
Yes.
That's all.
And they were searching for quite a bit of time. And this is not the only strange thing that's happening within this family. So Jake has previous child abuse convictions. If hell has a basement, Rebecca and Jake and some of Rebecca's family all live there. Because Rebecca is not the first in her family to get arrested for murder. Blood spatter is very difficult to get out of your clothes. You can't put it in the washer. You could wash your clothes 10 times. And it's not going to get the DNA out of it. The DNA and even evidence of the iron from the blood, it almost embeds itself into the tiny microscopic fiber elements of a shirt. And I don't care if you wash it on the sanitize cycle 10 times, most likely the police are going to be able to find out that there was blood on this.
Really? Even with bleach?
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's why some killers do some very weird things to try and minimize blood splatter. Some will straight up wear hazmat suits, rain ponchos, or in some cases, a shower curtain. Whoever did this, whoever killed Jaylen, covered their body with a shower curtain to minimize the blood spatter. Rebecca's brother, James, has a girlfriend named Jaylen who was found deceased in their bathtub from a gunshot wound. He would tell authorities that she self-exited and he didn't know because he was asleep. He would be arrested for her murder and charged, convicted, and he is now serving 52 life in prison for murder. And who was supporting him throughout this entire case? His mom, Mary, the same grandma that's supporting Rebecca. She told a news outlet, I know my son is innocent and I will continue to fight for him. There's new evidence. There's a lot of new evidence. We're going to fight to get him a new trial. We're going to appeal the conviction. We're not going to stop. She says there should be an in-depth look into the victim's mental health records, which...
What?
Because they're trying to argue that it was a self-exit.
So where did the shower curtain came from that you're saying?
He shot her while covering himself with the shower curtain to not get blood spatter on his clothes.
Oh, that was proven in the court, you're
Yeah.
saying? Okay.
And it's crazy because other things that were proven in court is that, I mean, I think everyone deals with negative feelings and maybe sadness, but she texted her family that James had, quote, gone psycho on her, smashing the phone and screaming at her. And this is the day before she's found dead. She tells her friend around that same time that James was increasingly getting violent and erratic. At one point, he pulled his pistol out of the safe, which scared the shit out of her. But nevertheless, Mary, the mother, she goes on to create a Facebook page, something along the lines of James is innocent, free James, support James. And there's a very specific post on there that reads, Jaylen suffered from a chronic condition that made it too painful for her to have intercourse. In fact, in their almost 5 years together, James and Jaylen only had intercourse one time. James accepted Jaylen's condition, saying that there were other ways that they could engage in sexual intimacy. According to Jaylen, she was being treated for the condition to reduce pain and discomfort. However, the treatment never improved the condition to the degree where she could tolerate intercourse. Jaylen expressed concern that she would never be able to conceive and could not provide a mate with children. The doubts Jaylen must have had, the depression that a partner other than James would ever tolerate, let alone accept such sexual dysfunction. She must have had serious doubts about her romantic possibilities, and establishing other intimate relationships was never brought up at the trial. The only comments made were the condition was under control and Jaylen was never depressed about it. So they're trying to argue, obviously she self-exited because she was very depressed, and she was depressed because of this. But you know who was so sweet and accepted her? James. Jamie boy.
This mom is out of her mind.
Yeah, and it's just like a profoundly idiotic take. And I mean, I just don't really have much to comment. I mean, nevertheless, the elevator does not go all the way up, but the mouth keeps talking. James' version of events is, I'd fallen asleep. My girlfriend must have gotten into the bathtub and self-exited while I was asleep. I did, in fact, hear some noise, but I thought it was probably coming from the air conditioner. Then he notices that his girlfriend is not in bed with him, so he starts getting up and searching, and he doesn't find her for, he was searching for about 10, 20 minutes? Yeah, which sounds maybe plausible if you reside inside of the Mall of America or, I don't know, fucking Disney World, but not if you reside in a 430 square foot apartment where from the bed you get a clear and direct view into the bathroom. Ultimately, James was found guilty and sentenced to 50 years to life. But even at the sentencing, he was still sticking to his story. He said, everything is my fault. You know what that everything is? My alcoholism. Because of my alcoholism, I couldn't see that she was depressed. I don't think violence is the answer, but I do think that sometimes making some very assertive contact, skin to skin, with your fist in somebody's face is maybe acceptable. Additionally, netizens dig up information on Jake's brother, who passed away in 2021 in Rebecca and Jake Harrell's house. The couple were investigated by law enforcement, but they did not file any charges. So there's lots of lots of crime, lots of death around both sides of the family. Adding a bit more messiness into everything is after Emmanuel is reported missing, before they're arrested, Jake's first wife files a restraining order on Jake. Some believe that this is to protect her son that she has with Jake, to protect herself. Others speculate that she filed this restraining order and then went to the police to say there was no football, because that's the son that was playing football that needed a mouth guard.
Oh, right. Okay. Wow.
So what now? Both parents are in jail. Emmanuel has yet to be found. The first wife has filed a restraining order. The second wife is not as relevant in the sense of, I mean, she doesn't have custody of any of her kids that she shares with Jake Harrow, rightfully. And Rebecca and Jake are in jail, and they're weirdly giving interviews. Rebecca says that she knew about Jake's child cruelty case, but still married him and tried to, I don't know, she tried to make it seem like their relationship was okay by saying it was, quote, wonderful, and that he treats her and her 16-year-old daughter from a previous relationship really well. They have 2 kids together. Well, they did, but, you know, she says he was a good dad. He would never hurt a baby, except when he nearly killed his other baby that she knew about before marrying him and then having 2 babies with him. Rebecca makes netizens want to slam their head against a wall. I feel like stupidity spares no age. It knows no bounds, even inside prison walls. However, it is infuriating that at her grown age of 41, she should have known better. Anyone should have known better than to put their kids in the direct line of danger by marrying this guy, or even having kids with this guy. Even his 2-year-old daughter that was taken from his care during this whole incident, Jake tries to make it seem like everyone around him is abusive and he's just the scapegoat. He says in a jailhouse interview that when his daughter was taken from his custody, that she did not have a bruise on her, but he went to visit her later at a facility. So the daughter was taken to a facility initially before Vanessa's cousin stepped in, and he was able to visit this facility before he was arrested. So she was taken early on. He went to visit her at the facility, and he says, quote, she looked like she got hit by a truck and then reversed and ran over again. And people are like, okay, this is your way of trying to cover up that you probably did that to your 2-year-old daughter. Oh, some family members of Rebecca's side reportedly didn't even know that they had kids. They're like, I didn't even know that your kid was missing because I didn't even know you had a kid, including Rebecca's ex-husband, whom she shares 2 kids with. He didn't even know that Emmanuel existed. And this is someone that she shares 2 kids with, and they're both minors at this point. So technically, you're supposed to be co-parenting. You're supposed to kind of be somewhat present in each other's lives because of those children. It's very strange. There are some reports and speculations that the couple wanted to get rid of Emmanuel because they were embarrassed of him. A lot of netizens have noticed the pattern that most pictures of Emmanuel, none of them are taken from the front of his face. They're all from the side. And it seems like they're trying to cover up the fact that he might potentially be cross-eyed, is how a lot of people that knew him spoke about his condition. And cross-eyed becomes a new thing because a lot of netizens have connected being cross-eyed with shaken baby syndrome. Shaken baby syndrome is, it's when a baby is violently shaken. They will suffer severe brain injuries. It's a severe form of abuse. I believe 1 in 3 babies that are killed is due to shaken baby syndrome. So people think that perhaps he had shaken baby syndrome, which caused the cross-eyedness. Some people actually believe that he was blind, which is what happened to baby A after her injuries, because in a lot of the pictures, it almost looks like he's peering down almost, which people have stated that when they had children who were visually impaired, certain parts of their eyes would let in more light. And so they would kind of peer a certain way. And all of the pictures are taken of baby Emmanuel from the side. There are debates on whether or not they were embarrassed by that and they didn't like that. And maybe Jake himself didn't like that and never connected with his own child because of that and decided to just... The DA is asked about that. And he responds, I can't speculate. I'll repeat what I already said. We believe that Emmanuel was severely abused over a period of time. So he can't say if he had shaken baby syndrome. But both parents would have been aware of that abuse. Which, with all of this, Rebecca's saying, no, this is not true. I will not give up. I will not give up on my baby. I want to be out there looking for my baby. This is her statement from jail. When she's asked about the fact that Big Five employees stated that she came in to ask whether or not they had cameras in the parking lot, she just reportedly shaked her head side to side. But there's definitely some strange energy. After Jake is seen cooperating with the police in his orange jumpsuit off the side of the freeway, Rebecca releases a jailhouse statement, and then there's all these reports that Jake is going to throw Rebecca under the bus, and then he finally does a jailhouse interview where he is very supportive of Rebecca. And people think he's playing mind games because for so long, so many weird things were happening. Not only was he cooperating with the police, but he lawyers up. And this lawyer is the same lawyer that he used when he almost killed his daughter, baby A. But this lawyer argues that he doesn't know why the police are saying that the Haro couple have stopped cooperating. He said, the Haro couple have voluntarily turned over all of their electronic devices, including the passwords. I think that's something huge that nobody has been made aware of. The attorney tells News Nation, I don't know where the statement that they stopped cooperating came from. I spoke with the detectives yesterday, offered for Jake to continue speaking with them, have not been made aware of any requests today to speak with Jake. I don't represent Rebecca. That needs to be very clear. But I have not been asked to produce Jake.
I have personally spent time with Jake and have seen the emotions in his face. He is not in any way running, hiding, or doing anything to exhibit any behaviors of somebody that is trying to be deceptive in this case.
People did not like that. People did not like that at all. And I don't know why this attorney is so passionate. Like, for what? He tells News Nation, Jake wants to cooperate. Jake doesn't like the fact that nobody's listening. Yeah, well, nobody gives a fuck about what Jake likes. Some netizens argue that they don't like the fact that Jake is still breathing, but I guess we all have our own interests and dislikes. The attorney continues to tell News Nation, even yourself, it sounds like you guys have already made up your minds. News Nation brings up Rebecca and Jake's weird interview, and the attorney just says, I saw the videos like anybody else. I can't speak for Rebecca. I can tell you that she doesn't have a master's degree, bachelor's degree, or any other degree in public speaking, so I can't speak as to that. Same thing for Jake. But it's interesting because he keeps saying, I don't represent Rebecca. I don't represent Rebecca. And it's also interesting because at one point he says something along the lines of the day of the alleged kidnapping. Mm-hmm. Which usually attorneys representing clients won't throw in alleged when they're talking about their client's version of events.
Okay, right.
So that's strange. But I think with all the talk that Jake was going to turn on Rebecca, Jake finally does a jailhouse interview where he doesn't really say much at all. I think the most enlightening but unsurprising part of this interview is Jake believes that the authorities are biased. They see his child cruelty conviction from 2023, in which he, his own mouth, pled guilty to, and they assume that he's capable of doing something bad to Emmanuel. They unfairly assume that. He also says that he didn't ever hurt baby A. He says, I pled guilty because I didn't have the money to go to trial. The judge said nobody would believe my side of the story. Somehow they magically convinced me to take this damn plea deal, which again, there was no plea deal. And again, yes, money, I think, runs the court system, but you would have a public defender. The judge knows I didn't do it. They're just railroading me. I was the fall guy. He also further states, Rebecca is innocent. The media is killing her. She is a beautiful woman and she loves her children. He expresses very deep disappointment that the public has not raised enough money to pay for Rebecca's bail. He also states that he did see Rebecca in the courtroom. He had gotten off the elevator. He tried to shout to her, "I love you," but, quote, "the deputy shoved me to the ground. He launched me like I was a rag doll." And he starts complaining about how he re-injured his shoulder because of that. And at the very end, he says if he could talk to Emmanuel, he would say, quote, "I love you, buddy." That's it. Now, there are rumors that in jail, Jake confessed to murdering Emmanuel, that there was a Perkins operation. So a Perkins operation is if you are charged with a crime but not yet convicted. So you're about to go to trial. You're in your little jail cell and you get a new cellmate. This cellmate is pissed off because he's also in jail for the 5th time. He's ranting to you. He's giving you little tidbits on what's the best food in jail. And then suddenly you're opening up and you're like, you know what? The cops think I fucking killed him. And guess what? I did. Turns out the person you're talking to is an undercover cop. That's a Perkins operation. So there were heavy reports, mainly coming from a major news reporter from News Nation, that this was the situation. However, with the recent press conference held by the DA's office, they said that is absolutely not true. This never happened. There was no Perkins operation. He did not confess. There was no confession. You've got it wrong, and you need to stop believing social media. So there's just a lot of unconfirmed reports and just a lot of unanswered questions, and one of them still being, where is baby Emmanuel? There's going to be a court arraignment, I believe September 4th. So probably around the time that you see this. I'm going to leave a pinned comment about what happens, but this is usually when the judge formally reads their charges and they will talk about their pleas. They will go through maybe some discussion about discovery, but that's about it. It's not going to be like the most enlightening court hearing or anything of that sort. I don't think we're going to get answers, but that is where we are. What are your thoughts on this case? Let me know in the comments and